Charting Toward Intimacy covers mature topics. Listener discretion is advised.
When was the last time you tried a new sex position? Different positions are good for different things. There are positions that are great for female sexual pleasure, pregnancy, clitoral stimulation, lasting longer, deeper penetration, shallower penetration, etc. Trying something new might even already be on your to-do list, but a lot of times we don't even know how to approach the conversation about trying something new in the bedroom, or we might not even know the specifics of a position and how to go about trying it. In this episode, we are discussing what you need to know about trying new positions, and make sure you stick around because we're announcing a brand new resource that will support you and your spouse in just this. Welcome to Charting Toward Intimacy, the sex and intimacy podcast for Catholic women. My name is Ellen Holloway, and I'm a Catholic speaker and coach who specializes in sex and marital intimacy, and I am on a mission to help you actually enjoy and desire good, holy sex with your spouse. And joining me today, I have my amazing semi-regular co-host, Kathleen Chabannes. This is going to be a fun conversation because when Kathleen and I were chatting beforehand, we realized for like the first time ever in this podcast, we have different experiences. All right, let's talk about how to talk about wanting to try new positions. Let's take it a step back from
talking about
the new position. Yeah, because I think this is a really good place to start because I think this is where a lot of awkwardness can lie, especially if you and your spouse have kind of gotten into a routine of just one or two positions that you always do.
Yeah.
And this is very common. If you are hearing that and you're like, yeah, I only do like one position. We only do one position. Like, don't worry. You're completely normal.
Yeah.
But it's also completely normal to have a full array of positions. If you're happy with the couple of positions that you use, or even just the one, then great. You don't have to have this spicy sex life. The reason why we're talking about this is if the positions that you use or the singular position that you use isn't pleasurable for both the man and the woman, then it's time to try some new positions.
Yeah.
Like it is.
Yeah. And honestly, maybe it is pleasurable, but there could be ones that are more pleasurable. Like maybe it's just kind of this like, oh yeah, it was good, but not like mind blowing, right? There are other positions that could just provide a better angle to make things actually mind blowing, which is pretty great.
Exactly. So, you know, this conversation can be awkward. And I think a lot of times when it comes to things with sex, the best approach is really just like rip the dang Band-Aid off. And like, just say what you want to say. Don't try to beat around the bush on this. Like, if you want to try a new position, just say those words.
Yeah.
I would like to try a new position next time we have sex. And it's okay if you don't know what the position is yet. Like, you can just start the conversation.
Yeah. And I think even going so far as to like having a little bit of research first, right? Like maybe, and I don't know, I don't want to jump the gun on talking like specifically pushing what Ellen is about to put out, but having like, you know, presenting a guide or a book or something with some positions could be a really good way to just rip the Band-Aid off, right? Like, and not so much having to sit down, but like, hey, let's look through this together and just see what looks fun, right?
Literally just beat around the bush of what we're announcing in this podcast. Okay. Vines in Full Bloom now offers a Catholic sex positions guide. So if you're like, oh, I would like to do some research, like Kathleen just said, but I wouldn't even know where to start to find appropriate material to do said research, this is the guide that I created for you. And there is a link in the show notes. And if you are listening to this when the podcast episode comes out, the first couple of weeks of it, we are offering it at a huge discount. It's like basically half off. Go check that out. I would like to thank ChristianFriendlySexPositions.com for use of their materials and partnership in this. That's my little disclaimer.
Absolutely. Can I just tell you, I know what I just did there, and I didn't really mean to do it. But I was like, instead of having to start a cold conversation, it'd be great to have a guide it just was naturally something I was going to say, regardless of your action.
That was hilarious. I mean, you like it. It's almost
it was
like
like what I wanted to say. It was
planned to set it up that way. That was not the plan.
I was just about to be like, I don't know, look up the Kama Sutra or something. And then we can't do that.
Don't look up the Kama Sutra.
Don't look up the Kama Sutra. I was like, if only there were a Catholic guide.
If only. 50 plus positions, including foreplay positions, and an entire bonus foreplay guide.
Yeah.
On like what foreplay really is and how to do it.
Honestly, it's amazing.
So.
The entire guide is phenomenal. Everybody should have it. And if you don't know how to bring up the conversation, buy this guide and just bring it to the bedroom with you and start it that way. Just have something to start focusing on and researching and looking through, and it'll be great.
Exactly. And it's a digital product, so you get it immediately. Like, you just buy it and then you have it right there. You can print it out if you want to. But the pictures are totally fine. They're just enough to get the idea of the position and nothing more, because we don't need that. We don't need that in our lives.
No, we don't.
This guide is a great way to start the conversation, is like, hey, let's look through this together and find some positions that we might be interested in doing. Or you could even look through, do your own research, find a position or two that you'd like to try, and then bring that to a conversation with your spouse and say, here's the position I want to try. I think sometimes we can really overthink this conversation and be like, oh my gosh, if I suggest a new position, then my spouse is going to think that I'm not loving sex or that he's doing something wrong. We overthink this so much, and it just doesn't need to be that problem. Like, think about going out to dinner. Let's say your family has just like a default restaurant that you go to. Let's say you just go to Chick-fil-A when you're like, I just want to go to dinner. And like one day you're like, you know what? Why don't we just try a different place? There's nothing wrong with Chick-fil-A. I like Chick-fil-A.
No, actually very good.
But like, there's also nothing wrong with trying a new restaurant. Like, it's kind of, I know it's on a different level, but it's like, it's similar. It's not like you're trying to say that anything is wrong with what's been happening in the past, unless you are. And that's a slightly different conversation. So let's say that like the current positions that you use are painful, you don't like them at all,
where you're just not able to climax.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Then that's a slightly bigger conversation. That's less about like, hey, let's try something new, and more about like, hey, I want to actually make sex pleasurable for both of us.
Yeah.
That's a bigger conversation. But I think still the best tactic is don't try to beat around the bush. And then also like doing some research ahead of time, deciding a couple of positions to present, and just like going for it. Rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's all really important. I like what you said about Chick-fil-A versus trying somewhere else. My husband and I have this conversation when we've discussed our sex life and things within it that maybe need to change and whatnot. He uses this analogy where he says, listen, like the majority of sex we have is like pizza. And I love pizza. Like, it's great. But every once in a while, I just want a good steak dinner. You know?
Yeah.
He's like, I am fine with pizza. I love pizza. I love eating pizza. I love I love having it regularly. But every once in a while, it would be great if we could just have like a steak dinner. And the whole point being like, yeah, sometimes we just want to switch it up a little bit. Sometimes you just need to make it like a little bit different, a little bit less status quo. I mean, it doesn't have to be that way all the time, but once in a while, would be great, you know? So it's funny because that's what that analogy reminded me of. And a lot of the time it's talking about either like switching it up via position or via time of day or like location or, you know what I mean? Whatever it is, just making it, doing one little change that could make it go from pizza to steak.
I think a lot of people will resonate with that idea, and thus where, you know, trying new positions could just be really beneficial to you. But I just kind of want to caveat that's like, it's not something you have to do. Like it's not something just because you always use the same position doesn't mean you're like having bad sex, unless it's bad, like unless it's not pleasurable for you.
Unless you are just having bad sex.
Unless you are having bad sex, in which case you definitely need this guide.
Right. Yeah.
And
so
maybe
funny.
like all of the other courses that I offer, like the O course and future courses. Back to the conversation at hand. All right. So once you've established with your spouse that you want to go ahead and try something new in the bedroom, one of the things I really like to suggest is if the position is particularly different than anything you've done before or particularly complicated, like you're looking at the picture of it, you're reading the description and you're like, not exactly sure how this works, not exactly sure how the pelvises line up here, is a clothes on practice session, which is literally just you guys like getting into that position and just like figuring out where your body needs to sit. And I love this. This is one of the tips that I have in the guide. Like there's quite a few positions where I have a little bullet point on it that's like, try a practice session with this one because it can just be a little bit complicated. But when you do a clothes on practice session, you can get all the awkwardness and silliness and just ridiculousness like out of your system in a totally like safe, you know, not a lot of pressure on the situation spot because you're wearing clothes. Like you're obviously like not trying to have sex at that moment. You could just be silly about it. And that can just like reduce a lot of like tension or fear around like trying a new position and things like that. So that's one of my big tips for trying a new position.
Yeah. So when I was reading Ellen's guide, I was really loving this idea of like a clothes on practice session. Because really, it just becomes play. Like, there's no pressure. It's not like, oh, we're going to do this now and it has to be good, this brand new thing. Like, hopefully, it's just fun. It's silly. It's goofy. It's like a game of Twister, right? Like, it's literally like a game of Twister. And I don't know. I think that's such a good way to make something that can be really awkward and vulnerable and sort of unsure just feel fun and silly with zero pressure for it to be anything good because you're not even going for it at that moment. I just love that idea. I don't know. And it's not anything I had ever thought of, but it was just like, this is genius. This is like the perfect way to take something really vulnerable and uncomfortable sometimes, right? And awkward, and just make it not that at all. Which, yeah, I think everybody should adopt that. It's literally something that we have never done, and now we may do. Like, because it just sounds
like, wow,
fun.
Take notes here.
And honestly, like, I think that gets so lost that, like, Michael has said this to me before, where it's just like, sex can be like just adult play. Like, it can be play. Like, it doesn't always have to feel like this deep, weighty, intense, you know, like theologically deep thing, even though that just naturally exists within it. We don't always have to have that pressure for it, you know, like it can just be fun and silly and playful. And honestly, that's something that I've really struggled with is seeing sex as just fun and playful without like, you know, focusing so much on like the deep theological or spiritual meaning of it, you know?
Yeah.
But I think this is a really good way, and maybe why I'm like so impressed by it and like internalizing it so much is just that like this can be a way, if you're like me and you sort of struggle with just the playfulness of sex, it's like a really good challenge and a really good tangible way of just seeing it as play is by doing this like clothes on practice, no real pressure. It seems genius to me. I don't know. It's probably not anything really novel, but to me, I was just like mind blown. This is great.
This is going to be the perfect thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Something else that you kind of mentioned when you were talking about the practice session is, when you can do, and what I mean by like a practice session is literally just like seeing how to get into the position, not like dry humping or anything like that. Like there's no like sexual pleasure in the practice session.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a good clarification. Yes.
Yeah. But when you are trying a new position, something that's really important to keep in mind is that like the first time you try it, it might not be that great. And that is totally normal. Mm-hmm. And that can mean one of two things. You might try a position and just immediately know this is awful. Like this just doesn't work for my body shape, my husband's body shape, the way that I receive pleasure, or like it was painful in some way. Like you might just immediately know we're never trying that again. But more often than not, you try it the first time and it's like, you have to learn how to move your bodies together in a new position. And like, it might take 3 or 4 uses of that position for you guys to get into a rhythm and understand like, how do you thrust together there? And like, if it's a position that has like access to the head of the clitoris, like how can your husband touch you there that like increases pleasure and things like that. It's like it takes some time to kind of figure that out. So beyond a clothes on practice session, like just also kind of keep in mind that the first couple of times that you use a new position, it might not be that great. And that's not a big deal. Like it's not a problem. Don't give up on a position if you're really interested in it. If like the first time was just kind of like, well, that was just meh. Yeah. It's like, well, give it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And then maybe decide.
But I think also too that like if you do know, okay, this is painful, like this isn't working, like if it's not worth continuing to pursue at that moment, sometimes it can feel awkward. Like, well, how do I say it without offending him, or without, how do I say I don't like this, or how do I say I want to do something different? A code word can be really helpful.
Yeah.
As
absolutely.
silly as that kind of sounds sometimes, like, yeah, just kind of going into this saying, hey, we're trying these new positions. We don't know how they're going to feel. So to make it easy to transition out if it's not working, let's come up with a code word. That way I don't have to worry about how I need to say this. Like we just have the code word. We know what it means. That's it. We joke Jimmy Dean sausage links is a big code word in this house, like among the kids and everything. It's just like a silly one that we used for a silly thing, and now it's like a joke and everyone laughs about it. But so maybe don't use Jimmy Dean sausage links, but some sort of word, right? Just to be like, like tap out or switch up or like whatever, you know what I mean? Like to prepare in advance with that, I think can be really helpful.
Yeah. I think really what we're getting at is just like having a conversation beforehand and just kind of getting on the same page of like, okay, this might not be the best. We're trying something new. It's okay if it's weird or awkward or like things just don't quite work right. And just kind of making sure that you guys are both like managing your expectations of a new position. Because that can happen for us women sometimes is, let's say that you typically use a position that's not particularly pleasurable. And then it's like, okay, we're going to try this new position. And, this guide says that it's great for women or what, it's like, and you can really just build it up in your head of like, this is going to be the best time ever. And I'm going to like have the strongest orgasm. It's going to be fantastic. And it's just going to be amazing. And then it's not. And then you can get like frustrated or even a little resentful. And so it's just important to kind of manage expectations. I wanted to talk about one more tip on trying new positions is just, again,
as you're kind of testing them out in the first couple of times that you're trying a position, it's just good to keep in mind that like propping up with pillows or using towels, like things like that can really help. And it's worth kind of like trying the next time, being like, you know what if I prop my hips up with this pillow, or like rolled up a towel and like put it under my leg here, or put it between my legs to like open that up, and just like allowing there to be conversation, before you have sex, right? Then in the process, communicating as much as you can. And then afterwards, like, honestly, do a little debrief, like Sports Center, right? Like,
yeah, no, that's
how'd
really
that
true.
go?
One other thing that I want to say is if you get Ellen's guide, one thing that is so great about it is that she has foreplay positions in there. And I love that because I think it's really important to start off with those foreplay positions rather than just, going right into trying this new position. Because you could start, like if you start it too early before you're really like primed and ready, it could feel completely different and awful. Versus when you are primed and ready, right? Like then it could be the most amazing thing. So really take advantage of those foreplay positions first to get yourself primed and ready before you dive into whatever the new, intercourse position is that you want to try. That's really important because I know in our experience, we could start one way and it's like, ow, no, not right now. And then we keep going and then we can always get back to it and it's a lot better.
Yes.
So that's something to really, really take into consideration. If something doesn't feel great, if a position doesn't feel great, maybe you're just not ready. Maybe you need more foreplay time. And then so give yourself that and then try it again in 15 minutes or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point, is like, don't be afraid to kind of like get out of a position if it's like, oh, not working, and either go back to foreplay for a little while, try to arouse, you get the woman to an adequate arousal level to where penetration isn't painful, or, just getting out of a position and transitioning to a different one if it's painful.
Yeah.
And that's where it's kind of good when you're trying a new position as well to manage the man's arousal level, kind of recognizing that there might be a need to step back from that position and try a different one. And so and that's something that like you and your husband can talk about in the dynamic of his particular arousal curve.
Yeah.
But if you can kind of manage his arousal to be a little bit lower when you get to the point of intercourse to where, he could probably last a little longer, then that's just going to be a little easier for trying a new position in case you do need to step back and actually like remove yourselves from each other and like move your bodies and get into a different position. Yeah. And again, that's going to be different for every woman and every man and every relationship and like your arousal levels. But it's just something that you can keep in mind and think about.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me about your own experience with trying new positions.
Yeah. So I actually had to give myself a big pat on the back, which is not something I typically do, particularly in the sexual sphere, because as I was going through Ellen's guide, I was like, wow, we've done a lot of these without actually realizing that they were like actual like named positions. Like, way to go us. So honestly, I will say that we've never sat down and like looked through to be like, oh, what's something new we can try? Which tells me that we're actually pretty sexually creative. And I'm really proud of us for that because we struggle a lot with sex in certain ways, but like that was clearly not one of them. But with that being said, it just, I think, come to us more and probably, to the credit of my husband, who is just naturally more like creative and experiential, like in the bedroom, you know what I mean? He's always like, again, the pizza versus steak conversation, right? Like he likes to try new things. He likes to switch things up. It has been our experience that it's been sort of natural, just like during a session to just kind of switch positions, even, I don't know, up to 3, 4, 5, 6 times, just depending on how long we're going and whatnot. But it's never really felt awkward. It's never felt like this high pressure thing. It's always just been like, okay, yeah, we've done that for a while. Now let's move into a new one, right? And even just so much as, and I know like depending on your spouse, right? Like a lot of times I think it's not uncommon for husbands to really like when their wives sort of take control for a little bit. So even like, so how to switch, like how to go from one position to another, for us, it's been really easy for me to just like remove myself from the position and then tell him like, do this, like lay on your back or like get in this position. You know what I mean? And he like loves that. It's like, oh yeah, you're telling me what to do. Great.
Love it.
And I think sometimes for women, like we take it as less of a turn on, but we like the clarity, right? When it's like, okay, I don't want to like guess what I need to do now. I just need you to tell me what you want to try now, you know? Just being very forthcoming and just removing from the position, either one of you, and saying, okay, do this, get in this position, right? And not in like a commanding sort of way, but like it's just like okay, let's like, this is what I want, right? Like, this is what I want to try. And if it doesn't work, then you flip it up again, you know? So again, for us, that's been very natural in our relationship. Just kind of this, hey, like, let's try something new. Just here, go here and we'll try this, you know? But for some people, it might not feel natural and it might be a little uncomfortable. So I think, again, like everything's about conversation and communication, right? So setting those parameters and those expectations before you even start, right? Like, hey, if we try this and it's not working, do you mind if I like tell you where to go next, you know, and how to switch it up that way? I think that's something that can be really helpful if it doesn't come naturally, to just kind of set those expectations first.
Absolutely. Yeah. And my experience is basically opposite of Kathleen's. If you heard Kathleen's experience and you're like, oh my gosh, that's not me, just know that this is a spot where Kathleen is like very much in the minority. And I'm not trying to like bash Kathleen here.
No, it's there's other people with me, just not a lot of them. It's
fine. It's a lot more common for couples to have a lot of difficulty here with positions, a lot more common for, switching positions to be awkward, and that's totally okay. And actually the reason why I put this guide together is like, I wish that my husband and I, when we first started having sex, like could have had something like this to just kind of understand like, oh, we don't have to like, if this position hurts, we don't have to just like keep trying this position until it doesn't hurt. Like, that's just not how it works. Like, we can try something else. We can switch it up, switch the angles, different things like that. And that was just not something that we had. And it took months for my husband and I to kind of like get to a point, this is early on in our marriage, for us to like get to a point where we're even comfortable enough to suggest the possibility of like trying a different position. And I think that is where a lot of couples sit, especially like, newlyweds, or if you have been married for a while and you're like very much in, this is our sex routine. And so this is where like having a conversation piece, like the Catholic Sex Positions Guide, can just be very, very helpful, because you have this visual to show your spouse and say, look, I want to try this, and look at this. It's got a picture. It's got steps of how to get into it. And it has tips and troubleshooting for like, if it's not working immediately. Yeah, I wish my husband and I had something like this to be able to start the conversation, because this was something that we very much struggled with. And it was like, and then it was like every time I got pregnant, it was like, we don't know what to do. Like nothing feels good.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I will say,
like, there are positions that are good for pregnancy and there are positions that don't work.
Yes. And that's what I was going to say, was that Ellen points those out in the guide, which is she highlights like this could be good for pregnancy, which is also super duper helpful. It's just a great resource. I'm really proud of you for doing it. It's pretty awesome.
Thank you. I'm really proud of it, and I can't wait for you all to have it. The link's in the show notes for that. And again, the first couple of weeks that we're running it here is probably only going to be for like the first like 2 to 3 weeks. It's going to be basically half off. So it's super cheap. So it's just like, just go for it.
Yeah.
And yeah, get your hands on that.
Love it.
Anything else on trying new positions before we close out this episode?
No, good luck, Godspeed, and have fun. That's it. Have fun.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for listening. If you are not already following us on Instagram, be sure to check us out at Charting Toward Intimacy. And if you listen to podcasts on a platform that gives you the option to rate or review, we'd love for you to do that because it helps us spread the word about the podcast. If you ever have questions, comments, or episode topic ideas, please reach out to us. We love to hear from you. You can reach out on Instagram or send us an email. Our email is in the show notes. Until next time.